Reverend Sharpton, hello. I'm Vivek, and I want to ask you...
and that they should be integrated with their neighbors. I have an exact quote. You want me to read it?
That's actually...
Something is happening over at Fox News, where now, apparently, several of their hosts on air have turned against Vivek Ramaswamy after building him up for months. So is it because he's brown? Is it because he's Hindu and not Christian? Probably, but there is more to this. So I'm going to get into those clips from Fox. I'm also going to show you a resurfaced clip from 20 years ago that sort of exposes Ramaswamy. So let me first get to the polling, where things sit at. After that debate, Vivek has gained in support, apparently. He's now sitting at 10.3%. So clearly in third place behind DeSantis at 15.2%, and Trump, of course, way ahead still in first at 49.5%. You can see the trend here where Vivek, the gold line there, has clearly grown his support as I lose my voice. But here's the clip. So I got to show you this. This is wild not because Vivek was a Democrat back then, because all these people, they have no real political ideology. Their ideology is towards money. But because of the question that Vivek is asking here.
You're good. Reverend Sharpton, hello. I'm Vivek, and I want to ask you, last week on the show we had Senator Kerry, and this week and the week before we had Senator Edwards. And my question for you is, of all the Democratic candidates out there, why should I vote for the one with the least political experience?
Well, you shouldn't, because I have the most political experience.
This is Vivek's question. The guy with zero public service experience. Zero. The one question that he had for Al Sharpton was, why should I support you? Because you have no public service experience. Like, it goes to the point that I was making earlier before I played that clip. He has no political ideology. They even mention here, shows little evidence of a political ideology prior to 2020, one of only 2 elections he voted in. Vivek is all about the money. And he is now trying to generate more of a name for himself by running in this primary for Republicans using that money that he made. And I'm sure he will use this new stature, this new status to, sell books, go on tours, give speeches as a new way for him to make money. So I'm going to get to how he made a lot of his money initially near the end of this video. And of course, once again, it shows you somebody who is strictly focused on making money for himself, doesn't care about the impact on other people or on, the world in general. But before I get to all that, I want to get to Fox News. Because Fox News, of course, helped to build up Vivek Ramaswamy, had him on their shows, countless times. And now that he's getting a little more popular, they are turning on him. And the reason they're turning on him is just interesting to me, considering who their president just was in Donald Trump. But I'll get to that. Let me first play you this clip. This is going to be Fox and Friends covering Sean Hannity last night, who had on Ramaswamy, and they both go after him. So this is sort of a 2-for-1 here, an example of how Fox News has turned on Vivek Ramaswamy.
And then we were all questioning about Israel, because people have said that he doesn't want to support Israel, or he doesn't want to give any funding to Israel. And Nikki Haley hammered him on the debate about that, or during the debate on that. And so he was on with Sean Hannity last night. And because Republicans are so pro-Israel, it's an important issue. And Sean asked him about it. Listen to this.
You said aid to Israel, our #1 ally, only democracy in the region, should end in 2028, and that they should be integrated with their neighbors. I have an exact quote. You want me to read it?
That's actually... Yeah, I can tell you the exact quote. What I said is it would be a mark of success if we ever got to a point in our relationship with Israel, if Israel never needed the United States' aid. And Sean, you know how politics is played. A lot of the other professional politicians who have been threatened by my rise have used that statement to say that I would cut off aid to Israel. That's not correct. The reality is this. By the end of my first term, our relationship with Israel will be stronger than it ever has been, because I will treat it as a true friendship, not just a transactional relationship.
Why did you?
I don't get it.
He's wrong about all that foreign policy stuff. It's that easy.
I mean, you could have cutting-edge foreign policy, but then he also said with the strategic ambiguity, I watched it last night, he said, look, what I was saying is right now we have a one-China policy, strategic ambiguity. So if we don't say exactly what we would do if China goes to take out Taiwan. He says, I'm telling you right now, I will say we will back Taiwan militarily until 2028. At that time, we will have our chip capacity here domestically, theoretically, and then we'll go back to with the current policy we have right now. It's a long way to go.
So Fox News is apparently now turning on Vivek because he's not sufficiently in support of a far right-wing apartheid Israeli government. Now, we should be clear. It's not that Vivek has, a human rights-oriented view on Israel-Palestine. No, it's because Vivek simply is looking at the money given to Israel, as opposed to, maybe centering the human rights of Palestinians and ensuring they're not occupied by an apartheid government. So it's different motivations. And I still don't, let's get back to just the reality. Vivek's not going to be president, and he ultimately doesn't care, I don't think, about any of this. He's just trying to stand out. I'm not sure if he really has a real position on anything, but it's interesting to see Fox News latch onto this when he's had these positions for a while. It's not like this is out of the blue. He has been steady in whatever he has been spouting. So for them to now decide to go after him specifically on this over foreign policy, when Donald Trump was their guy. Is Donald Trump great on foreign policy? No. The difference is Donald Trump gave completely in to the far right-wing Israeli government, gave completely into the military-industrial complex, did not care at all. So you have that in contrast to Vivek here, who, cares a little bit, or at least is pretending to care a little bit, rhetorically, about the money being spent overseas. That is an issue for a place like Fox News, which is heavily funded by defense contractors. So this is ultimately, I think, why they have decided now to turn against him, though considering Vivek is not going to win a Republican primary, considering he's brown and Hindu, it's weird for them to even go after him at all, because he's not a real threat. He's more of a distraction. Maybe they see him as a distraction away from someone else they want to see rise, but that can be, in terms of, the strategy of Fox News, that's why they would do that. But ultimately, I think because they have to speak to the wishes of the apartheid government, the wishes of defense contractors, that is ultimately why I think they decided to, go public with their disdain of Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, also, there's another Fox News contributor here commenting on Vivek's foreign policy. So Mark Thiessen here saying, this by Vivek is criminally stupid. Quote, I will accept Russian control of the occupied territories and pledge to block Ukraine's candidacy for NATO in exchange for Russia exiting its military alliance with China. I will end sanctions and bring Russia back into the world market. In this way, I will elevate Russia as a strategic check on China's designs in East Asia. So basically just giving up Ukraine. This is stupid. This is definitely stupid. Still, we get back to, I just think this entire conversation is dumb. When I hear someone like Vivek, who has no public service experience at all, let alone, experience in a position where he could have a real conversation about these issues on a platform that he's in with the primary. All of this is just dumb because this guy's not going to be in power. This guy is not going to. Am I the only one that feels this way? If it's someone like, Ramaswamy or, I don't know, Andrew Yang on the Democratic side, people that just have no experience in this at all, speaking as if, well, when I'm president, I'll be dealing with Russia and China and I'm going to get them all together. Like, it's all so stupid because you're not going to be in these positions. Why are we pretending? Like, why are we playing dress up here? It's all so stupid to me, especially when it comes to discussions around foreign policy. But it's also worth mentioning. I don't know why I want to bring this in here, but here you go. Eminem is now restricting Vivek from singing Eminem, or I should say rapping Eminem songs on the campaign trail, which Vivek has done. I think the videos are copyrighted, probably because they are Eminem songs, so I can't show you them. But he, at one appearance, he rapped one of Eminem's raps. Like, it's so Eminem is restricting him from doing that now. It's so embarrassing. I've seen the clips. If you haven't seen them, do a little search there. If you want to feel secondhand embarrassment, watch Vivek rapping Eminem. It is excruciating. But let's just end on here how Vivek has made his money and gotten to this point to be able to elevate himself in this primary. So he founded a company called Roivant. Before I even get to what this is all about, I'll read this here. But Roivant is based, the name comes from ROI, return on investment. This is a pharmaceutical company. A pharmaceutical company where the whole basis of the name is we're going to make money for ourselves. That's like, it isn't, the focus here isn't to help people, isn't to save lives. It's how am I going to make money? Like, which you could argue is at least honest compared to a lot of pharmaceutical giants that pretend they're all about, helping individuals or helping society. Roivant's at least open about what they're about. But their strategy was to cheaply buy the rights to potential drugs that big pharma companies like Pfizer, Merck, and GSK had shelved for various reasons and take them through clinical trials all the way to market. To get the cheap initial price, the company promised the major pharma companies a cut of any future profits. So this strategy for his company was to take these pharmaceuticals or potential drugs that were not going to work, that either were not successful through their own clinical trials, or for whatever reason, these companies thought that it wasn't feasible to bring them to market, so they didn't, so they shelved the product. So Roivant was going to take these old pharmaceuticals and make something of them. I'm going to get to how that worked out, but one of the critics of Ramaswamy describes him as a very wealthy guy. The issue is that it was built by basically a version of pump and dump. So here's a great example of that. An early failure put Ramaswamy on the press's radar. In 2014, Roivant paid just $5 million upfront to acquire an Alzheimer's treatment that JSK had abandoned. Roivant then turned the potential drug into a startup, Axovant, which it took through a $2.2 billion initial public offering in 2015, a record amount for a biotech company at the time. Ramaswamy made at least $38 million the year of Axovant's IPO, according to Forbes. 2 years later, however, their only drug failed a clinical trial and its stock plummeted. By March of last year, Ramaswamy had wound down his stake in Axovant from 78% to 25%. Axovant's stock price now sits at 39 cents. They took this pharmaceutical that was shelved because it didn't work. They did their own trial, talked it up big, got a $2.2 billion IPO because of Ramaswamy's lies. His ability to pretend this is going to be a huge breakthrough for Alzheimer's patients. Made all this money. And because he was separate, the way he structured his company, Roivant, the money that was lost on Axovant didn't hurt him as much because his investment, his stake was really in Roivant. So he was able to benefit from the IPO while not being hurt as badly when it crashed and burned. All as a way, again, for him to make money for himself. He didn't care about Alzheimer's patients. He knew this drug wasn't going to work, but he talked it up, made a ton of money, and it failed. And that's one example. There are more examples. He also sold off a bunch of, the more valuable aspects or valuable potential investments he made in some of these shelved drugs. He sold that off to a Japanese company, so that's where he also made a lot of money. But this is just a guy he's just a car salesman. And you can, if you watch the first debate and hear the guy talk, look, I don't like giving Chris Christie much credit because he doesn't deserve much credit for anything. But the criticism he made of Vivek, calling him, Chat GPT, is very accurate. He comes off as incredibly phony, and this is a whole separate discussion. But I have to wonder how people don't see it when you have someone like that, who was just very car salesman. You can see that, right? Like it comes through the screen. You notice that because a lot of people apparently don't. If you're supporting Vivek right now, you don't see the car salesman in him. You don't see this guy's just a complete a grifter. I don't know. But this is another example of somebody who is, as we all predicted, at some point, the party was going to turn on him. And it appears that is beginning to happen